He plays behind, the last couple of years, he played behind probably the best offensive line in football. Hasn't finished the season in the last 5. Any general manager that would make a deal for Tony Romo shouldn't keep the job as a general manager. I mean, it's a bad business decision. Plus, what offensive line is going to be the same one that he has in Dallas? Most stays at Dallas. Number gets hurt, he can play, and you put incentives in if he does play. But to me, Tony Romo's got to be a Dallas Cowboy to the end of his career.
Ray Lewis is still with us, but Skip, let me start with you. Do you agree with Theismann?
You know Joe, Skip.
I do know him, and as usual, Joe Theismann is dead wrong about this issue, as he is on most Dallas Cowboy issues, because he hates the Dallas Cowboys as it were. I know Joe. I worked with him on the other network. Rarely agree with Joe, especially on this one. I believe that some GM on the hot seat could actually save his job by taking a flyer on Tony Romo, especially if Romo, as Joe said, would renegotiate his deal down to a heavy incentive-based package. I'm going to remind everybody, just 2 years ago in 2014, Tony Romo managed to play 15 games for my Dallas Cowboys. And in those 15 games, he threw 34 touchdown passes to only 9 interceptions. He led the National Football League in QBR. And in the playoffs, he threw 4 touchdown passes to 0 interceptions, played 2 more playoff games, so that's 17 total for the year. How did he do it? I don't know, but he stayed healthy for that year. And by the way, they should have won at Green Bay because we all know that was a catch. Especially this man knows it was a catch.
Complete.
So, you know what? Speaking of this man across the table, your Denver Broncos, depending on the fate they end up with this year, they should take a flyer. John Elway should take a flyer on Tony Romo. Tony Romo next year for a 1-year incentive-based deal. See if you could break back through and win a Super Bowl, because they're not going to win this year's Super Bowl.
Did you see what happened to Trevor Siemian? And you know who's in that division? Justin Houston's not going anywhere. Khalil Mack's not going anywhere.
Beef up your offensive line.
I didn't even mention
it's
Ingram
Tony
from San
Romo.
Diego.
You saw what happened. Did you think Peyton Manning was going to last behind the Bronco offensive line?
But here's the
thing.
He
did. He lasted. For 4 years, he lasted.
But Peyton had 1 injury. Since you mentioned Tony,
he had 3 neck surgeries.
He missed 1 season. Okay. Since 2010, Tony Romo broke his collarbone, missed the final 12 games. In 2013, he had suffered a herniated disc, week 16 out the rest of the season. 2014, fractured transverse process, missed 1 game. Okay, get it up. Last year, broke his collarbone twice, missed the final 12 games.
So if you're the New York Jets, you're not going to take a shot?
2016.
Come on.
Somebody tapped him on the back of his head, broke a bone in his back. Now, mind you, Skip, since Tony Romo, in the last 3 years, he had the #1 offensive line. They finished 2nd in rushing in 2014, 9th in 2015. They're 2nd this year. So where can he go? Joe didn't leave me no meat on the bone. I don't even know what I'm talking for, but then nobody asked me the question. But anyway, I'm following up what Joe said. Where can he go?
Arizona.
Can I finish?
Arizona.
Have you seen Carson Palmer? You see
He's
Carson?
doing just fine.
Every time I look,
he's still healthy. He's still upright.
Every time I get,
that's his fault.
Every time I look at Carson Palmer, he's looking at the side of his ear hole. There's somebody done peeled his wig back to that offensive line.
Look. I think the bottom line is this, right? You know this, right? What you do on the field and staying healthy. That's your resume. That it's simple. It's simple math in our business.
Availability.
Availability.
The best ability.
That's the only ability you have in this game is availability. But the only thing when you talk about Joe, the only thing I don't kind of agree with Joe with is that a GM will take a chance on Tony.
Yes.
Yeah, somebody will take a chance on Tony Romo. I don't know about.
Should he be fired?
Being fired for taking a chance on Tony Romo. Because if you talk about the Jets, if you talk about the Denver Broncos possibly, if you talk about some of these other teams that's out there, Tony Romo's type of style of play can come in immediately and just take and probably help the Jets out tremendously. I don't know if the Jets are even looking for that route. But when you think about what the whole body of work, Skip, it's one thing about, and I learned this early in my career, and this guy's a huge credit for that. He always told me, if you're going to be around, you got to take care of your body. You got to look like you're ready to play at all times. And when you see these injuries come to a person over and over and over, you got to ask yourself, what am I not doing to take care of my body? Right? Because
I listen, you were on the right with Tony.
Yeah.
I don't think he's taking care of himself the way he should have.
Yeah.
He does gain a little weight in the off season. I don't think he works as hard as you used to work in the off season.
But let me ask you as a question. I've been seeing the same doctor for 12 years. I'm 48 now.
Yeah.
And he says we on a first name basis. He says, Shannon, you're as healthy as any 48-year-old could possibly be. But you're not the same guy that walked in here 12 years ago.
Right.
You don't get healthy as you get older.
Right.
Tony Romo is suffering these injuries. I mean, think about it, Skip. You said it. In the third preseason game, he barely got touched and got a ball.
Well, I don't know. He got rocked from behind by Averill. But I don't know why he was running with the football, but that's a whole
For me, let me ask you a question. You mentioned that 2014 season. And in 2014, he had the number 2 rushing attack, just like he has it now. Dez had 16 touchdowns that year. Jason Witten was 2 years younger. Has Tony Romo played better in 2014 for a 10-game stretch than what Dak Prescott is playing?
No, but I think that.
So
Yeah.
So to your point, this is what kind of the leisure that he's had up until this point is that there has been nobody to push him.
Right.
There has been nobody to come and step in to the next.
That's why Cowboys fans have this infatuation and this over-exuberance of just how good Tony Romo is.
Yeah.
Because when the guys that's come in behind him,
Right.
they've looked awful.
Right.
So Tony looks even better than
Yeah.
maybe he actually is.
Right.
And now you want to minimize what Dak is doing because you're like, well, Tony Romo could have done that, but he didn't. Skip, and there's somebody, you're right, somebody will take a chance on Tony Romo for 2 reasons. Kurt Warner and Peyton Manning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you remember he got beat up in the Rams and he went to the Giants. He got beat up at the Giants and he went to Arizona. And he was almost won an MVP and he took a team to a Super Bowl and it took a great game-winning drive and a great catch by Santonio Holmes to beat the Card and Kurt Warner. And everybody know what Peyton did. After those neck surgeries, he had the first round bye in 4 straight years. He won an MVP. He broke the touchdown record by 10% and he broke the passing record.
He did.
So someone's going to give him a chance. And I don't think the GM that signs him should be fired.
No.
But that contract is going to be in my favor.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to
but it has to be. I said that.
Maybe 250,000, maybe 500,000 for every game you're active. See, I can't give you this kind of money up front, Skip, and then you get hurt in the preseason, and then I'm on the hook, and I'm paying you for nothing.
Okay,
So
but
if
just remember, Tony Romo has top 5 ability. I'm not saying he's a top 5 performer. He has it. He is big box office. He's fun to watch. And for the Jets or even the Houston Texans should rethink the commitment they just made to Brock Osweiler. You don't think Houston versus Dallas, you don't think they'd like to have Tony Romo in Houston?
I think a lot of teams
1-2 years. You could hit the lottery.
I believe it's going to be a matter of where he wants to play and the amount of money he wants to play for will be the determining factor of where he goes. Now, if he thinks he's going to get $18 million,
But it's still going back to the same question. Can he stay healthy? That's every player in the National Football League. I mean, Skip, I get you, and I understand. You're going back to 2014, but this business is about what have you done for me lately? And I'm telling you, if you think about the whole conversation on what we're talking about, what can you do for me right now?
But you can't tell me he won't stay healthy either. History would say you're right.
Yeah,
that he
yeah,
won't, right?
and that's all we can ever go
But
by
if you
is
hit
history.
the lottery with Tony Romo, you could win big with Tony Romo if you're desperate for a quarterback. Am I right?
I mean, I can go a lot of ways with if.
in the past 7 years, there's only one season in which he has not been injured and missed time. One time in 7 years, I'm banking on history.
But see, that's back to my point. You can listen. This body of work is simple, and the formula will never change because the NFL is built by this. How healthy can you stay? Are you the person that's on the field? Can you keep me going? And if you don't have nobody to push you, then guess what? You're as valuable as anything. But the moment you get a young lion come through that door, like a Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Okay, remember, Tony
all
Romo
changes.
has never had to face his NFL mortality until right now.
Exactly.
This is when he had to sit back and he gave his concession speech, and it's like, wait a second, this could be over. You don't think he might recommit to some fitness program?
But Skip, I'm going to tell you like this, and I tell all guys currently playing,
Yeah.
if you limp into the season, you will limp
out
out of it.
Limp out of it.
Well, he's high risk, high reward. Isn't that what you always say about him?
Ooh, is he?
Ray, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being
Good
here.
to see you guys.
Coming up, has Lamar Jackson already won the Heisman? Matt Leinart joins the debate next.